What's going on, y'all? KM Best here, and I am here to talk to you about an archetype that has been dismissed by many, but I think has a real shot at this metagame. That's right, it's Discard, or as I like to call it, Swarmy Swords, and that name is a reference to, of course, Silky Smooth, which was a move deck back in the day, last August, that is the day, and it was a deck that was based on not getting anything in it Shang-Chi, being a sort of invulnerable to Shang-Chi mid-range points deck, and now I think Discard, with the addition of Proxima Midnight and Meek, has actually gotten to that level as a viable mid-range deck that is hard to beat with tech cards, especially hard to beat if your opponent's only tech card is a Shang-Chi. It's a deck that is very good at putting decent numbers of points on the board, really significant ones, while not getting interacted with in very significant ways. Now, what this deck is mostly trying to do is the same thing as every other Discard deck has been, but the addition of Proxima Midnight and Meek put it at a level where this is actually putting out significant points, and it's a little bit harder of a deck to Loki than other decks of this type. The original Silky Smooth, a Craven Silk type deck, falls apart in the face of Loki because Loki plays the card Loki and just does your entire deck for free. This deck is a little more finicky, a little bit harder to put together, and needs a lot more sequencing both on early and late turns, which means that Loki can just end up with the wrong part of the deck and not really get the kind of power out of it that you can as the person playing it. This asymmetry is what makes it a reasonable choice. You are able to match up well into Loki and into these other mid-range decks without getting immediately clowned by any one card in them. This is a deck that avoids Shang-Chi with the best of them. Dracula, of course, is the OG of avoiding Shang-Chi, but Proxima Midnight, 7 power. You can keep your Morbius as low as you want, but most of the time when you Modok, he is going to be bigger. Modok, 8 power, does not get Shang-Chi'd. Dakin, 8 power, does not get Shang-Chi'd. Meek, never going to get Shang-Chi'd. If he does get Shang-Chi'd, that is hysterical, but probably will never happen. The Collector, very rarely going up to 10. This is a deck that operates in the space below Shang-Chi, but with volume is able to put a lot of points on the board anyway. A lot of people will ask if this deck is playable without Meek, and I do think it probably is playable without Meek, but it's going to be a little bit worse, certainly. He's not like a key card, but anytime you can play like a 1-drop that scales in a deck like this, you are interested in doing it. Now, I am sort of unsure if you really need him. I think you probably can replace him with just something good or some other synergy piece. But one of the things I like about how this deck is built is that it's very much built for safety. Weirdly, I think if you are going to replace Meek, the actual replacement you should look for is like the Helicarrier, so that you can get extra points on your Collector and just have an alternate game plan. I think I like this build because it is the one that plays the most safe, that leans the most into this Silky Smooth adjacent mentality that I like to bring to the deck that really sort of defines it in my view. And so Meek, just as a solid scaling card, it'll be like a 1/6 after a Modok. That's pretty good. You're very much fine with that. Is a little bit more in my wheelhouse than going super big with Collectors and Helicarriers. But I do think if you don't have Meek, that is the direction I would be looking for a replacement. Blade, I think, is one of the unsung heroes of every Discard deck. Targeted Discard, infinitely better than non-targeted Discard. This guy is absolutely bonkers, and sequencing him in certain ways is going to be one of the major skill determinants in this list. How you approach playing Blade is going to depend on a lot of different things, like do you want that extra 4 power on an Apocalypse? You play him after a Lady Sif, Apocalypse goes to where he will be bladed. Dakin card going into the hand, that goes to where it will be bladed. Of course, you also have, once your Swarm gets hit, they go to where they will be bladed. And sequencing those, figuring out what actually matters, and figuring out how to make it happen within your limited sequencing, your limited resources, the limited amount of discards you have, makes Blade a real utility player where he can double up on things that you really need to double up on. Need a bigger Apocalypse? Well, he can make that happen as long as you Lady Sif first. Need more Swarms? He can make that happen as long as you play Colleen Wing first. He is a utility role player that also happens to just be a 1/3. Morbius is actually just so good. This is one of the only remaining scaling 2-drops in the entire game. And one of the things that the Silky Smooth deck had was a great variety of scaling 2-drops. You had like, Angela, Craven back in the day. This guy is bigger than any Craven ever will be, but probably worse overall than Angela. But the fact that only discard can play a legitimate scaling 2-drop is part of why this deck actually makes sense. And Morbius is just like absolutely a good reason to play this deck, because it is a competitive advantage you will have when your 2-drop has 12 power and their 2-drop has 3. This is not the most collector intensive build here. This is a guy that's going to get to like 9 in a good game, but that's fine, right? Like, you have Dakin that goes into the hand after you play collector. You have 2 swarms coming into the hand every time. So like 1 swarm discard and then a Modok, and he's going to be pretty big. He doesn't need to be carrying. That's Morbius's job. He is just there to be, sometimes he's going to be like a 2/7. And that is, again, a competitive advantage that you really need in a deck like this. You need your early game to matter. And one of the reasons that decks like this tended to fall off is because their early game doesn't matter. But now, with Collector being like a 2/7, Morbius like a 2/12, Meek is like a 1/6. Your early game actually does matter, and you are able to play in this style. Swarm is a actually legitimately key component of how this deck actually works. Like, as a deck that does not have a lot of like flexibility late in the game, Swarm provides that flexibility. Obviously, if you get Mobiused, it's quite bad, but you are in a situation a lot of the time where you are very predictable, and Swarm helps add unpredictability. Fundamentally, though, I mean, like, this is, again, it's power that can't be Shang-Chi'd. It's power that can't be really dealt with in any real way, and you get it for free. And Swarm, you get like multiple swarms. There are games where you go for 2 swarms. There are games that you go for 4 swarms. There are games that you go for 0 swarms. Those are the games where you're looking at like have a Dracula and Modok on 6. They're a little bit rarer, but they do happen. Playing with this card is a key bit to why this deck is good. One of the other major competitive advantages that discard gets to leverage is that its cards are overstated, because the abilities on them are technically downsides. Again, like a 2/4 is not the biggest deal in the world, but a 2/4 that discards your swarm and turns it into a free 6 power is actually just a great deal. That's effectively a 2/10 some of the time. And that kind of stuff is what enables this deck to have a generally good point economy to be able to be something closer to a real deck. Dakin is an excellent card in this list, but if you're looking for something to mess around with, I think this slot is likely the one to do it in. Like I said, this is a deck that is looking to get extra value out of the cheap cards in it. Dakin being a 3/8 is pretty good. His additional synergy with the Collector is pretty good, but he is sort of capped at pretty good. This is a card that on its own won me like 1 game, and that is not really all that impressive. His value over replacement is probably not that high, and I do think that if you wanted to mess around with the deck, you could probably do something in this slot. I think a lot of people are going to try like Corvus Glaive stuff. I think that's sort of a different type of archetype, though. This deck right now is existing in the mid-range that does not get blown out by tech card space, and going towards Corvus Glaive puts you more in like a high roll type situation. I prefer it existing in the mid-range space right now, but that could change as the game evolves. I shouldn't really have to explain why we play Lady Sif in our Apocalypse discard deck, but I will anyway. It's because she's a 3/5 and then gives Apocalypse an additional 4 power when you play her, which also procs your Collector and your Morbius, which is generally just a very good deal for you. Dracula is a great way of combating Shang-Chi, because you can't ever really Shang-Chi this guy unless there's like a dark dimension or an invisible woman or something along those lines happening. You're just not really able to do anything about it. And it has been fulfilling that role for a while, but now that it's got the help from Meek, from Proxima, from a changing metagame, Dracula becomes a really important piece of this deck because of how you need to still be able to go tall. A lot of what your deck can do is go very wide, a lot of swarms, a Proxima Midnight, but some lanes you are going to need 16, 20 power out of your 4-drop. And again, a lot of what this deck does is just play things that are above rate. Dracula Apocalypse, phenomenally above rate. And that is just sort of not only in the ethos of the deck, but it's what the deck needs in that spot anyway. I think people will ask, should you play this deck without Proxima Midnight? And where Meek is replaceable legitimately, I don't think Proxima is. And I think here's what I'm going to say as to why. When you play something and get a swarm, you get 6 power for free. Proxima is 7 power for free. That is like more payoff than a swarm, and you get it for free. Just in your deck, and there's nothing you have to worry about with it. You don't have to worry about, oh, my swarms are going to mess up my Dracula. No concerns there. Play Proxima. It doesn't matter. She just goes to the board. It's sick. This card combined with Swarm, like they have like a multiplicative effect where Proxima and Swarm and Dakin and Meek and Morbius, these are all cards that are scaling with your Modok. And of course, it makes your Modok an incredibly important card to play. Shout out to Dream Dimension. I hate you. But this card is actually pretty key to this deck filling this role of being a mid-range deck that puts a lot of points on the board without being vulnerable to Shang. Modok is the single best card in the deck, and the deck would not exist without him. You play Modok on 5 basically every time you have it, unless something like Dream Dimension is preventing you from playing it. You can spend the entire game setting up your Modok on 5. That is what this deck plays like. Modok on 5, of course, gets your Proxima on the board, gets your Swarms to be free, gets your Apocalypse some extra power, gets stuff out of your hand so that you can make sure the Apocalypse goes to the Dracula. It does absolutely everything. It is the key card in decks like this. I would make an analogy to, like, it's like X23, but actually more important to the archetype. Like, you can win games in Destroy very easily without X23. It's a lot harder to win games in Discard without Modok than it is to win games in Destroy without X23. I love this card. Apocalypse has been one of my favorite cards in Marvel Snap since I started playing Marvel Snap. The flavor this card has, his Harbingers coming out, and the oncoming Apocalypse of the way he plays out is just so incredibly fun for me. I actually bought this in, I think, the first ever bundle they ever sold. That's where this Apocalypse variant came from. I've been using it ever since. This is a card that I've been excited about since I was collection level 100, and I'm very happy that I can be excited about it now at collection level 20,100. Apocalypse is obviously your Dracula enabler, but also just having a target for discard that leaves your hand and then comes back to it is quite important for stacking up those extra points on your collectors and your Morbiuses. This is obviously a card that is pretty key to the deck, and I do think that, there is some argument to be like, okay, I'll replace Meek with Helicarrier, make my Lady Sifs a little bit more interesting, and you can do that, but under no circumstances replace Apocalypse with Helicarrier. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for making it this far in the video. As always, I've been KM Best. You just got the KM boost. Nobody answered my question. I asked if I've been KM Best and you just got the KM boost was something that I should end my videos with, and nobody answered it, so answer it now. I've been KM Best. You just got the KM boost. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one. We're going to jump into some gameplay right now, and thank you. A deck that I consider a bad matchup in those spots. Weirdly, a pretty solid hand. Like, a Morbius showing up would be interesting. Wow. Loki. Okay, so Quinjet is quite awkward here. Or not Quinjet necessarily, sorry. This Nidavelir's a little awk. I'm not sure I ever get to do anything about that lane. I think I'm very much just a Dracula, try to Apocalypse thing. Oh, now I get to do stuff about that lane. See, they snap me here. That feels crazy. I am comfortable with that snap. Like, I imagine I'm getting Loki'd. I figured that part out. I do hate that. So this puts Proxima here, and I can also play Meek in Big House and get him to move to one of the other lanes. I feel like I want to try this. But maybe it's stupid. Let's see what happens. I believe if Meek goes to the middle, I win. So it's pretty much just a 50-50 on where the Meek goes. Kaboom! Let's go, baby. Oh, we Meekin. Oh, we Meekin. Look at that. Look at that. That's what I like to see. A casual 17 in the Big House that requires an investment of Stature Shuri Gladiator to beat, which allows us to, like, sideways our way into winning the other lanes. Weird location stuff happens, weird things of that nature. Stuff like that is genuinely pretty solid. Don't need to play anything yet. We have Dakin, Dracula, and then a variety of weird things that could happen. This card is a silky smooth this meta. No, I actually believe you 100%. That absolutely tracks to me. I totally buy it. Okay. We've lost the raft. Our final turn is so fucked that I kind of just want to play this anyway. I we have just such insane shit coming down here, right? Like, we have Modok into Proxima, Swarm, like, Muramasa Shard, everything. We have everything here. That is horrifying. Solid. I don't like discarding the Morbius. That's the one I wanted to draw next turn. But I think we just have to roll those dice. That's horrible. How are we winning this game? Do we ever just get, like, heinously Heimdalled here? I don't know. I almost feel like the Spider-Man 2099 would have been a better surprise play to blow up my Dracula. Alright, so yeah, if my guy lives on the left, I win. Kaboom! Boom! We played around Heimdall. This was the play to play around as many Heimdalls as possible. Like, what you're actually asking me is, hey, KM, I'm so smart, I'm right about this. Just talk to me like a human being, please. Yeah, I'll get a Colleen Wing here out. Like, literally just talk to me normal. Why can't Second Dinner release perfect cards that are so good we all want to play with them, but not good enough that we can't complain about them? Yeah, it's like, please just talk to me like a human being. That's all I want. I am not going to play there because last time I played this person, they were a destroy deck. Why can't they hire Thanos to ensure all things are perfectly balanced? Yeah, why can't they hire me? I would ensure all things are perfectly balanced, by which I mean buff Loki. Ooh, that sucks. I'm probably just going to play Proxima then. Yeah. Their null is big as shit now. Kind of annoying. Then I hold this stuff and just play a bunch of shit next turn. Oh boy. Okay. So that's probably getting Zola'd, right? I mean, if it is getting Zola'd, it doesn't matter. It goes to 19, right? It goes to 18, we win. So it doesn't matter if that gets Zola'd. So we need to play around things that are not Zola, right? We need to play around non-Zola outcomes here. Which involves stack power Hotel Inferno, right? Does it? I don't know. Okay. We're good. Yeah, it was like specifically non-Zola outcomes we needed to play around there because Dracula effectively covered every Zola outcome. Can we force a Meek jump right? We could have, but like it's like kind of whatever. I figured I didn't actually know where I wanted that 2 power. So I was just like, well, if I don't really know where I want the 2 power, I'll just leave it up to Meek. But also, numbers suggest that this is actually a fairly good deck. Which, you know, weirds me out, but I'm willing to at least investigate. It's, I think someone in here compared it to Silky Smooth, which it is kind of like that, actually. You know, I will be able to get off of that. It's fine. I'm Gucci. I just need to not do too much discarding until I can make sure he fucks off. Invisible Woman. C3? Oh, I can just move cards there? That rocks. What's happening here? Collector ever get big? Nah, I mean, like, he's been like a 9 some games, but it's pretty rare. Invisible Woman Blade. Are we just getting, like, Invis Hellud? Because if so, I mean, you rock. Go off, King. That's super baller. Living Tribunal? Oh, on a bar with no name location? Hell yeah. Am I dead here? Fucking maybe. Does Proxima go to bar? I believe she will. It's just we have a New York there, right? We get to like a 6 power collector here, which is pretty solid, right? The weird bit is if they snap, I kind of feel like I'm still staying. I wonder if we're getting like Modok Tribunal or whatever the fuck. Did we disconnect or something? What's going on? I feel like we already roped through this turn and now we're roping through this turn again. Am I crazy, chat? Can someone sanity check me on this? Okay, there it is. I do not know what's happening here. I'm imagining I'm getting crushed. Oh, yeah, there was a bet that wasn't paid out yesterday. That's my fault. All right, well, what is that card? Modok? Okay, so we're winning the tiebreaker. I am not getting crushed. I am, in fact, dominating this tiebreaker, is what's happening here. I'm owning this tiebreaker harder than anyone ever has. See, look at that. A collector, you know? Look at that collector. It's an 8. It's a 2-8, right? I'm a fragile little baby. Proxima worth it or no? I don't know. I know that's like a cop-out answer, but I actually don't know. We've been streaming for how long? Numbers on Untapped seem to suggest that she is more worth it than people give her credit for. By a pretty significant margin. If you want to play this deck, I do think you kind of need her. People like underestimating free. Yeah, free is some crazy numbers. Or crazy text to put on a card. Free is crazy text to put on a card. I guess I probably snapped this. Oh, shit, I'm too late. Wait, do I actually just die if they get the vulture over to kill him? All right, hear me out. This is a dumbass play, but I'm making it. Heimdall is such a real card, yes. There's so much shit they can do. It's a dumbass fucking play, but I'm making it. My god, I'm dead. Okay, hold on. What if I move the Mobius out and just try to win the other lanes? Better move both. I worry that kind of clogs me, right? My final turn is 3 swarms and an APOC. Saved my Morbius. Let's go. I've already given up that lane. My God, it's roping out hard. So, am I dead? I have no idea. Let's lose 4 cubes. Shang-Chi, not real. I think this gets there in a world where they don't have Shang-Chi, Enchantress, any number of shit that does not get there. Moving the Morb gets it done, baby. 6 months, I appreciate it. My favorite location, because it's the one that means there's 2 ruins in the game. Boy, I hope that doesn't come... I hope that does not be the thing that happens. But if it is, I do have a collector, and Mindscape is good for that, right? Mindscape actually just good for the collector, no? Alright, which one's getting blown up? Cool. Holy shit. Just actual 2 Miss Marvels? Disgusting. Is this winnable with the Elia? Maybe. Ha ha! Behold! The fart cloud! Yeah, it was like a 50-50, right? They get to play something on one of the side lanes and then something in the mid lane, and we were just like, fuck it, I'll guess the side lane. Modok, it's a very awkward proposition. So like this is like a solid hand again if we get a Modok, right? We're going 2, 3, 4. We're playing cards. Things are happening. That sucks. That sucks worse. That is the best possible outcome for them, and arguably the worst for us. But this matchup, just to begin with, is not bad or not good for us. If they, are you for real? That's tough. We got to get that Meek out of there. Get a chance of getting Meek over to Blackstone like this. All right, come on. Wolverine, do not go where that was. Are you serious? Come on. Wolverine, are you for real? That's so painful. Wolverine, you actual piece of shit. Bonjour from France. Indeed. Bonjour. I mean, this is kind of a lot of points, honestly. They have killed 1, 2, 3 cards. They are on 6 energy this turn. And I am very likely limited to just playing a 16 power dude. Can we switch Proxima Midnight? I don't think so. You can switch me. I think they're Nico cloning a null? Cloning an 8 is kind of crazy, honestly. Yo, that blade might really matter. They play another guy, right? They have another null. And like what they can do is try to Zola the middle and just try to win the 50-50. But I think I take a 50-50 in this situation. Yep. See, that's the 50-50 we win. They win the Blackstone. No arguments there. But we win the middle, we win the other one, we'll be fine. Like, it's not my favorite thing on Earth. And the fact that X23 is 0 does matter. It's possible their null could have won it the other way. But we got to take those 50-50s where you can get it. Dead, no stone at all? Dude, I do not think you were dead. I think, like, most cards in your deck beat us there. Not gonna lie. 1 out. Wow. 69 minutes. That's crazy! 69 minutes? I have some legitimately bad news for my opponent, I think. Maybe I'm still dead, though. Blade the Swarm. I could just still be dead here. As if it's 16. Jam Colleen, right? Yeah. Like that? I'll stay in. Let's see what happens. We got him. New Darkhawk? For the record, the Meek was the worst possible draw. We were like actually potentially liable to lose to a Shang there. It's just I don't think they're a Shang deck. Whoa, turn one snap. The fuck? Alright, I mean, I'm gonna stay in. I don't know what a turn one snap means. Like a Modok Hella thing, maybe? What is a turn one snap on Dark Dimension? You're an Eliath deck. God help me, I feel like I'm contesting this. Oh, ramp? I mean, you are an Eliath deck, right? I'm always winning this 50-50. Yo! My talent is undeniable. Go on Dark Dimension. Fuck. My talent is insane, chat. I mean, he always plays an Odin here, right? I was kind of thinking of Modoking the Dark Dimension, but that would lose to like a rando Eliath.